Let's give Jay Gibran from IBM a nice round of applause. Let's hear it. Let's give it. Woo! They're tired of talking. They don't want to hear me. So now it's Jay's world. All right, here we go.
Thank you, Amanda. Good job pulling all these people here to listen to me. Guys, I want to start by introducing how we started this project. We started a year ago. We were at Intel Vision in April, and we started talking about what do we need to do together to help the enterprise customers with their AI journey. At the time, we didn't have any. Interest, in expanding the relationship between with Gaudi. But working with Intel very closely, we realized there is actually an opportunity for both companies to go target the enterprise market for trusted AI. And that's when Suraksh and I worked together very closely to launch Gaudi 3 on IBM Cloud, effective yesterday. And now you can actually buy a Gaudi 3 instance in IBM Cloud for production workloads in Washington, D.C. and Europe. Those are the two locations we launched Gaudi 3. So imagine the conversation last year. We have a great product, Gaudi 3. We don't have it in a cloud environment where the customer can consume it. What can we do together, IBM and Intel, to bring it in an environment that is consumable and brings customers to production workloads? Why is that important? It's important because most customers are experimenting with AI today, Gen AI. Boston Consulting Group published a study. 98% of enterprise customers are doing something with Gen AI, but only 28% or 26%, depending which slide you look at, 26% of the customers are actually doing something with it. So I'm going to ask the people in the stands here in the room, how many of you are in that stage of production AI workload?
Raise your hand if you're in production workload AI.
0%?
Okay. All right.
Okay.
There's a few right here.
We have 2, 3. That's good.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we're seeing in the market. And the question is why? I usually follow this with a market slide, but I was on the flight, and Gartner published a new study as of yesterday that changed the market data. So the market data as of yesterday, March 31st, it tells me that generative AI is going to create $644 million in worldwide revenue, according to Gartner again. How is that broken down? 180 billion of that is servers. We know what to do with servers, right? We're all server people. We know how to sell them. We know how to build them. The 50 billion of that is going to be software and services. We know how to do that. Most of us are software companies or hardware software companies, so we know how to do that. The interesting number was none of these. The interesting number in 644 billion was 400 billion. It's going to come out of what? Any guess? Anybody saw the study? Devices. Devices that are going to be enabled by Gen AI. Those devices could be consumer devices, could be business devices. So to have 400 billion market share in devices, what do you need to support those? You need training or inferencing? Inferencing, exactly. That's why we're going to focus Gaudi presentation on inferencing workloads, because we think over the next few years, inferencing is going to be the key revenue driver. Inferencing is sold per million tokens. Today, if you go consume 1 million tokens in ChatGPT, you pay $10. I think in Watson X, we're actually a little bit cheaper in some of our models. We charge $6 depending on the model. So $6 per million token, you can do the math, and that's how you make money in the inferencing business. Okay, so why, considering 644 billion is coming to the market, why the enterprise customers are not jumping into Gen AI? It's the key components of Gen AI that kind of scare the enterprise customers. Why? Because of security, privacy. What data set do I have? Is the data set curated? Can I put that data set in front of my customers? Can I even gather all my data from different places into one place so I can do data mining and analyzing my data? All these questions are open for enterprise customers. That's on the data side. Then you move to privacy and security. Privacy and security for Gen AI is critical. Privacy and security of your infrastructure is important, but your data is super important. Why? Because think of it, IBM Cloud is built on 2 components: be innovative and be secure. That's what we are good for. That's our value prop for our customers. We focus on customers who care about innovation and security. So security becomes critical for banking customers when you're creating a loan application on Gen AI that you want your customers to apply for loans, and you have to feed all that data that you collected for 50 years or 100 years, depending how old the bank is, into a model to create a value for your loan officer so he or she can approve or disapprove the loan based on AI recommendation. To put that data in a Gen AI model, if you don't trust that Gen AI model, there's no way a banking industry institution will do that. They'll choose to do it on-prem, and we have a solution for them. That's why those customers typically trust IBM Cloud. We'll show you how you can innovate with AI, but also be secure with your data through our hybrid stack, which I'll show you in a minute. Then the cost of resources. Cost of building a generative AI discipline within your company. We did it. I personally did it over the last 24 months. It's tremendous amount of work, a lot of skill, a lot of money, a lot of capex that you have to put in the cloud or in your environment. Assuming you have the space, you have the power, you have the resources, can you do it? And if you can do it, that's great. If you can't, then we can come in and help you with that. We have built the skill set, we have built the infrastructure for inferencing, for tuning, and even for some customers who want to do training, which usually we don't recommend, but some customers rather do training, and we can help them with that as well. So we talked about the different patterns. These are few patterns that are coming out from thousands of engagements that we did with enterprise clients. Some customers just want to use a Gen AI engine. Imagine you log into ChatGPT and you ask a question. I did that last week because I was booking a vacation, and it's very useful, fun. You can share it, you can copy paste, send it an email or a text to your kid's wife and tell them this is where we're going, this is why. It was a lot of fun, but an enterprise customer will never, I don't want to say never, but most likely will not use a public model to put their data, because even if you're just inferencing, even if you're prompt tuning, that knowledge become part of the model. So most customers have very little value there because it's just for fun. Employees are putting data and it's coming out. Most companies tell their employees not to put sensitive data in those models. So that's one pattern. The second pattern is really where the critical value for enterprise customers is here. Is to be able to customize a model with your data. And that's where IBM shines, right? Because we can allow you to customize a model on-prem and keep it on-prem with your on-prem data. We allow you to use it in the cloud if you're comfortable with our cloud, and be able to fine-tune and inference the model in our cloud. That's, to me, that's the North Star, and that's the value creation from Gen AI. If you're an ISV, that's where you want to work with your customers. If you're an enterprise customer, this is where you need to get to be able to monetize your AI journey. Otherwise, you're simply participating in it, but not creating a lot of value. Then there are others who want to build a model. There's few of those still that want to build a model, and they want to spend $6-10 million to build a model. That's fine. You can go build it with your own data. But I can guarantee you that an IBM trained model is going to be as good, if not better, than a model you train yourself. Why? Because we have a large data set that we curated, we collected, and it's enterprise focused, that is used for training our own models. So if you use our data, of course, we're not going to give you our data, so you're going to have to scrub the data from the web. And if you scrub the data from the web, you end up with hate, abuse, profanity, wrong information, wrong answers, and in some cases, copyright material that can cause you problems with the authorities even, or with your customers. So we don't recommend this, but customers do it, and we still help them with that. I want to focus mostly here on inferencing and tuning, and then how you use the cloud infrastructure to drive scale. You can build a model, you can put it on-prem, you have your own data center, but you really don't have all the services in the cloud. You don't have database as a service, you don't have cloud object storage, you don't have the software, you don't have the visibility, you don't have the transparency that the cloud offers. It doesn't give you the scale to reach your customers globally. Today, IBM Cloud operates in 11 regions. Yesterday, we added another one, so we're 12, and Montreal just opened yesterday. So 12 regions globally across Asia, Europe, and Americas that you can use to touch and inference to your customers. Remember those $400 billion that Gartner is saying is going to happen in 2025 for inferencing? If you want to reach those customers, you need to be global. And that's what the cloud offers you. This is the stack. This is the secret sauce for IBM AI, right? Most people have it in the cloud or on-prem. Very few people were able to create a stack that is on cloud and on-prem that is similar, and customers can move transparently between the two. And the reason we do this is because of that red layer, right? Red Hat OpenShift allows you to build an application and deploy it in cloud, other clouds, on-prem, on the edge. That glue, that layer, that cloud operating system, whatever you call it, middleware, it enables customers, enterprise customers, to scale securely across all infrastructure. Gaudi 3 will appear here, along with other accelerators that we use today. So we will have Gaudi 3 as part of our infrastructure for AI, along with Xeon, if someone is looking at Xeon inferencing as well. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the stack. The most important piece is really that red layer that allows you to go across all the infrastructure. And then once you have that, you can build all the applications that you need, and you can integrate with your customer on-prem. Why IBM Cloud? Why we're promoting IBM Cloud? There are many clouds out there. Why should you go with IBM Cloud? 2 reasons. You can read the slide. I'm not going to read it for you, but it's really 2 things. It's innovation, but with security. So at the core of our innovation, when we start building our AI infrastructure, we build it with security in mind. That's what IBM does, and that's why customers with critical workloads trust us to come on our cloud. So we are trusted. We're hybrid by design. We don't give the customer 1 model to deploy. We give them 2. And then we are purpose-built, meaning built for enterprise customers and flexible consumptions. You know, a lot of cloud providers will tell you got to buy spot instances, you got to buy reserve instances, or you got to buy commit for a few years. We give you a flexible commercial model that allows you to scale without having to make those commitments. If you want to make the commitments, we can do them. We can give you reserve, but some customers don't want to do that, so we give them the flexibility. This is what happened really last April, and at the time Pat was the CEO, and we had a conversation with Pat, is that what can we do together, IBM and Intel, to bring trusted AI to enterprise? And this is the result of that conversation in April. It's the fact that the team worked very hard. Suraksha, Drew, I don't know if Drew's here or not, they were on calls with Intel every day to make sure that Gaudi can be integrated in IBM Cloud. It is not easy to integrate a new platform, and it's not simple to virtualize a new platform and add the software stack. The team had to work day and night, and Suraksha can attest to that, until they brought this product to market. And you can buy it as a VM, you can buy it as a container, you can buy it in my entire stack, or you can buy it under Watson X. That's the integration level we did. We didn't just say we're going to take Gaudi and make it a part of IBM Cloud. We took Gaudi and made it part of IBM AI stack, so it's fully integrated in the stack that I shared with you. Based on the data that I just shared with you earlier from Gartner, which happened yesterday, right? Inferencing is going to be king for the next few years. Training was a gold rush in the last 2 years. People bought as many GPUs as they can get. Is that going to slow down? No. Inferencing is going to accelerate, and inferencing is going to demand more compute power at the front, right? At the inference time. When you move to reasoning models, like the O2, the Strawberry from OpenAI, Watson X, we just announced Granite 3.2 with reasoning. As you do more and more reasoning, which is the next phase of Gen AI, you're going to need compute at the edge. You're going to need compute in the inference side. And that's what we think inferencing is not going to slow down. It's actually going to get bigger and more expensive. And that's therefore having the right infrastructure at the right cost is so critical for you. This is why we chose Gaudi. We have other accelerators, but we chose Gaudi for cost efficiencies. We chose it for the large footprint of memory, and it does perform really well with certain models at certain scale. And the data that was shown this morning from Sanchin and the keynote, I think, proves that. Intel will be publishing that study. It was done by a third party called Signal 65. They took an instance of Gaudi in IBM Cloud, an instance of H100 in IBM Cloud, and an instance of H200 in IBM Cloud, and did a comparison. And at the end, they provided you with a metric that says what is the cost efficiency of Gaudi over H100 or H200 in certain workloads. So again, Gen AI is very tricky. When you do benchmarks, you have to specify this is the size of the model, this is the context length, this is the size of the model, this is FP16 or FP8. You have to choose all these parameters, and then you come up with a conclusion. So when you read that study, just keep that in mind, that if you're using a different model, the results might be better, might be not. Depends on the model they're using. It's open in terms of software stack, and it's efficient. So we're talking about scalability with efficiency. Efficiency is going to become more and more critical, especially in Europe. You see it in a lot of RFPs where companies are asking for your carbon footprint. Gaudi provides a really good story in carbon footprint. So what's coming? Suraksha's still working. She's not done with Gaudi. So we have, we released the product. We're going to have a deployable architecture that allows you to deploy it in minutes, maybe take a few minutes or a few hours, depending on the size of deployment in IBM Cloud. All automated, production-ready workload that you can start using. We're integrating Red Hat, OpenShift. We're in 2Q. We're integrating IKS, which is IBM Kubernetes Managed Service. Like I told you, you can buy it as a container, and you can buy it as a container in OpenShift in Q3 2025. That's a roadmap. So we're going to continue to invest to bring Gaudi up in our stack so people can consume it not just as a virtual machine, but as part of our AI stack. And that is it. There's more information here on the slide. We have a booth here. You can go experiment and see a demo of Gaudi 3. The team is here working with the booth. They can help you with that. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right. Really quick, though, who has a question for Jay? We've got a few minutes. So I'm going to give you the mic so everyone can hear.
You have managed Kubernetes, but are there any plans for managed Slurm instances?
Managed what?
Slurm instances.
We do not support Slurm today in IBM Cloud. Yeah, we don't. But that's not something we can... I mean, we can do it. It's just we haven't had the demand from customers to do it. So OpenShift and Kubernetes, I guess, is what we have managed.
You mentioned the cost of building your own Gen AI team. Like when you guys are putting together a value case to work with IBM versus build your own, how much do you say it costs an org to build their own Gen AI team?
A team or the model?
A team. Like, hey, we want to stand this up in-house. Well, yeah, you can do that, but it'll cost $10 million or something.
Yeah, the team, it has to do with the skill set. The skill set is typically, for training, is someone who understands HPC. So you're building an HPC cluster, most likely with InfiniBand or Rocky network. So you need that level of expertise. You need someone who understands the power, because the GPUs use a lot of power. So if your racks are 20 kilowatt and you can only put 3, how can you put 4? Power capping, that's another skill that we had to learn. Then you had to learn how to efficiently scale the cluster without taking it down, upgrades, updates, all the network maintenance that we do without taking the cluster down. All these learnings came over time for us because we train our own models. For a customer to do it on-prem, I think that will be significant uplift. And most customers don't have those skills today, so they rely on an integrator, on an ISV like some of you here, to go and help them build that out. Anybody who built an HPC cluster in the past will probably have similar skills to build an AI cluster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What other questions? Yes.
So we see a lot of benefits for Gaudi 3. What do you see the most critical challenges for IBM Cloud to go big with Gaudi 3 versus the other GPU products?
So it's adoption. We have a Watson X service, so we really operate our own service, so we can get feedback very quickly from customers. We sell tokens; the customers pay us for them. The more tokens we sell, the more GPUs we need. What Gaudi 3 is going to allow us to do 2 things. It's going to allow us to run that service more efficiently at a lower cost. So customers who are buying tokens, possibly it would be more efficient for them. The second piece, a lot of our customers like to deploy their own model. They don't want to use a SaaS service. If they deploy their own model, then they get to select the GPU. If they select the GPU, Gaudi will be one of the selections. How big we're going to get with Gaudi, I think I would like to see the Gaudi roadmap, to be honest with you. That's something we're talking to the executive, Michelle, and others, is what is Intel going to do beyond Gaudi 3? And so we can decide what's the next step with Gaudi. But for now, we're focused on Gaudi 3 in 2 regions. And we'll look at the results, we'll look at the adoption, we'll look at the benefits, efficiencies, And if the results are there, then we'll definitely want to continue working with Intel on the next accelerator, whatever that is.
All right.
So there's one actually after Gaudi 3, right? So it's coming, I think, later this year or early next year from Intel's GPU roadmap. Did you guys look into that as well?
Jaguar, sure, I believe it was announced, and it will be 2027. We don't have a lot of details on it yet, but yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking to Intel very closely on that too.
Yeah, would love to see that. Would love to see the software stack. And honestly, the chip Gaudi 3 was an excellent chip design. It's a software that took us a long time to fine tune. I mean, Sudhaksha can tell you in 45 days, working very closely with Intel, we were able to close the gap in the performance by about 25-30% from where they were in the beginning. 45 days. So imagine if we continue to work together on the software stack, what we can do with the next generation.
All right, let's give Jay a nice round of applause, please. Thank you, everyone.